employs over 200 R&D engineers who constantly conduct field studies to improve on existing products and design and launch new products for the construction. That's like a old school carpenter's argument, you know, West Coast, East Coast thing.
We should set up a hotline so that people call in.
Are you going to staff it? Press 1 for worm drive. Welcome to the Fine Home Building Podcast, our weekly discussion of building, remodeling, and design topics aimed at anybody who cares deeply about the craft and science of working on houses. This is episode 68 with Brian Pontolilo, Matt Millham, and me, your host, Justin Fink. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Justin.
Good morning.
Jeff working them knobs over there and adjusting lights. Anybody watching the video, how does the light look on this side? That's what we've been focusing on today. We had a bulb burn out. There was a crisis. How's this side looking? Good? Good?
All
Yeah.
reflecting
Are you
off my
speaking
pasty
to-
whiteness.
I'm speaking to the camera.
The viewers.
The viewers. Yeah, the people listening in their cars, they don't really care what the light looks like on my face.
Yeah.
For those of you driving.
If you're watching this, I suggest looking at something else.
Yeah.
Listen, but look elsewhere.
Yeah, we have faces for radio. So today we got questions about structural rot repair, some mysterious black goop on cedar shingles, geothermal systems, and maybe some other ones. We'll see what else we get to. But before we jump into that, let me remind you of the email address, fhbpodcast@taunton.com. You can send us your questions and topics for discussion. We've been getting some good stuff. Keep it coming. I know that some of you guys out there have a bank of topics that you just need to get to a keyboard and send them to us. I encourage you to do so. We're always looking for interesting things to talk about. And send us some photos of your projects, and we will do our best to weigh in and argue endlessly about how to do them the right way. We're just finishing up our latest issue of the magazine, number 270. And that's going to the printer. It's got a beautiful shot of framing in Colorado on the cover. And this is a really cool issue. You've heard us talk about in the show a couple of things that are going to be in that issue. The metal work for builders,
Yep.
being the primary story that we talked about on the podcast. I'm trying to remember what other ones we talked about. EcoCore, the factory-built pass valves. We talked about that too. We got some really cool stories in that issue. I'm really excited to get that out and see what people think of it.
We got a really neat problem-solving kitchen cabinet.
Yeah,
Paul Johnson.
Yeah, that's a super cool project.
The cover story.
We finally did Rob's interior window.
Yes.
That's in that issue. So yeah, that's going to be beginning of September. That'll be on newsstands and in mailboxes. So check that out. Support us.
It's a good one.
So you've also been researching stuff for the upcoming K&B issue, Brian. This is your time to shine. Your issue of the year. One of two issues.
One of them. Yeah.
And you're working on a story on bathroom trends. Is that what it's going to be about?
Well, kind of. I think it is about that. The story's kind of is shape-shifting a little bit, but I'm having fun working on it. Originally, as you guys know, and I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, I have a few pet peeves with bathrooms and bathroom design and some bathroom products, right? And
like fixtures, or do you mean like types of products, or
I'll give you
I refuse to acknowledge that Moen is a good company.
No, not the manufacturers. Manufacturers tend to be, I think, making some pretty good stuff and being pretty innovative and offering lots of options for, both function and style in your bath, and opening design possibilities when you think about the building materials. You think about like the tile systems like Schluter and Curdy and the linear drains and all these kinds of things that just sort of start to expand the possibilities for a designer. I guess sort of my pet peeve is with things that can be, less functional in a room that needs to be pretty hardworking. Some of the real decorative sinks. Yeah. And they're great. They're great for certain applications and not great in others. And so I started working on this story about, I was going to call it the best and worst of bath design. I might still. But what it's really turned into is a kind of let me see how many there are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A top 7 list of trends in bathrooms.
Top
so it
7
is
trends in bathrooms.
that I like, that I think are solid trends.
That Brian likes.
And then I'm working with Paul DeGroot, who's an architect.
Oh, I love Paul.
And he's helping me refine, what makes these work well and where they can kind of fall down.
Where's Paul? In Austin?
Well, right now he's riding his bike across Canada. But yes, he's in Austin.
And he's helping you with an article?
Yeah.
How's he doing that?
Yeah, he's weighing in the evenings, and he's gonna be home on the weekend, and he's gonna dive in and write his portion of it this weekend. So
wow.
When I realized that I was digging in pretty deep, and that I have some experience as a design editor, but not a designer.
Yeah.
I kind of made a cry for help to Paul, and he said, "I got you." So Paul's awesome.
He's awesome.
So let me give you the top 7 list.
Okay. Oh, make sure Mike throw, when you're doing the show notes, Mike's going to throw up some links to Paul DeGroot's past stories, because they're really excellent.
A bunch of great stuff for us. Yeah. So in not necessarily any order right now, curbless or barrier-free showers.
Wait, is this stuff we like?
This is stuff we like. It's top 7 trends in bath design.
I thought you were going to slam some stuff too.
Well,
Can we do that
I
on
eased
the
up
air?
on that, but
Can we do
like
that here?
the bathroom sinks.
Okay, let's do the stuff you
some
like.
of those. But these are, and the sinks are going to fall into this category of liked, because I'm going to talk about how to use these things well. And so what was a pet peeve is now becoming here's how to use them well.
Workaround.
Yeah.
Okay.
So curbless or barrier-free showers, I
Okay.
think having a great impact on bath design in a very positive way. Floating vanities or wall-hung vanities.
Yeah. What do you like about those?
I like the way that, and a few of these things have this same feature. I like the way that when we can see the floor space underneath the vanity, it makes something that is hulking and takes a lot of space in our baths and minimizes its effect on the room. It makes the bath feel bigger.
It's sort of the next iteration of a pedestal sink, right? I mean, it's like pedestal sink does do that job also. It takes something and really slims it and makes a small bathroom feel a lot bigger.
Yeah, and with the floating vanity cabinets, you have the choice to decide, do you need a lot of storage, and is this thing going to basically be a cabinet, a full-on cabinet hanging on the wall, or do you have, if there's a linen cabinet in the bathroom or right around the corner, maybe it's just a couple of open shelves. Maybe it's just a floating shelf. I've seen some great examples of that with a sink in the top.
And it gives you opportunity to clean something else.
Your
Because you got the space underneath.
Yes.
I didn't even know Matt's microphone was on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny, because a lot of people, like when I've been researching like benefits of these things or advantages of these things, and a lot of people make that point. They say, "Oh, it's easy to clean under," and I kind of don't. I'm not buying that. So you won't find that in the article, because if it hit the floor, you just wouldn't have to clean.
Right.
Under it.
It's something else to clean that you didn't have to clean with a normal.
Easier to clean around it though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's easier than a toe kick, right? Is it? I guess maybe it isn't easier to clean under.
Well, you can see. You can get your mop under there.
Right.
Whatever you're cleaning with easier.
You could use one of those giant janitor's mops. It's like 4 feet wide, because now you don't have to. You know what I mean?
You can use. Yes, Justin.
Like it's a life goal.
All right. Next, freestanding tubs. Tubs had this sort of process, right, or evolution from.
Those are definitely harder to clean under.
Definitely harder to clean.
Is this your list of things that make your bathroom harder to clean?
Yes. From the 1800s, where every bath had a pedestal. I'm sorry, a clawfoot tub.
Yeah.
To the 1900s, where first 3/4 of the 20th century, where tubs were all built in.
Mm-hmm.
To tubs kind of disappearing for a while. Like everyone was saying, no one uses their tubs, so bathrooms started to see bathrooms without them.
Yep.
To them coming back and having just a whole bunch of great options for manufacturers for really improving style in your bathroom and making some really comfortable tubs if you like to take baths.
Like the standard tub unit that builders put in, if you just stop for a minute and think about what that looks like, it is so ugly.
Yeah.
It's a giant hunk of plastic, or even if it's cast iron, whatever you make it. I mean, I'm sure your house probably is cast iron, right, Matt? What color is it?
It's pink, I think.
It's either going to be
It's in a pink bathroom.
pink, blue, or beige.
Oh, yeah. One bathroom is pink. One is blue.
Goldenrod.
There's the boys and the girls.
Yep.
Awesome.
Have fun demoing that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know exactly what we're going to do with it, but it's definitely coming out at some point.
Yeah.
Along with the pink tile and
Pink toilet?
Oh, I think there's a blue toilet in that one, or gray toilet. I don't even know. It's not a color I've ever seen in a toilet before.
That's the era when you put that little shag carpet thing in front of the toilet, and then on top of the toilet seat too. It was like part of the decor.
Urine catcher.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, next. space saver, wall-mounted toilets, becoming more and more common.
Yep.
And they save up to 10 inches in front of the toilet.
So far, this list is all things to get off the floor.
And yes, and that's interesting part of the list. And I would argue the cleaning aspect of those, because cleaning the base of the toilet and underneath the bowl sucks.
I am baffled by the fact that not why they continue to manufacture toilets, and I assume it's got to be just a manufacturing decision. Why they make it so that you can see the trapway. You know, like you can see the tube go through. It's so much harder to clean than a smooth surface.
Yeah.
It gets disgusting. Like, and it's got to just be that it would have to be a separate piece on the outside of that, or not a separate, but more harder to mold or something. But maybe it's not harder.
Yeah.
Sorry. Why the F are we doing this?
That reminds me of I can give you a story, kind of a pet peeve about where design kind of lost its way. I teach, and my wife and I used to manage a yoga studio that was designed by a really talented designer.
That bathroom's gorgeous.
Yes, bathroom is
the whole place is.
Bathroom is stunning. So they chose a really kind of high design toilet, right? It doesn't have an exposed tank. The tank is one of these ones that's kind of wide, sits on the floor, and the tank is within the toilet. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they, in an attempt, I guess, to make the design so clean and so sleek, they placed the flush button. Kind of, if you imagine sitting on the toilet, you'd have to reach around behind your right cheek and reach down on the edge of the toilet to press the button to flush it. And what would happen, and maybe this wouldn't be such a problem in a home, it would only be a problem when you had guests, but what would happen is people would have to come shyly to the front desk and say, how do you flush the toilet?
Yeah, that's fun.
And so that was an awful experience for many people. Maybe you don't want to do that to your guests, but that's where that would be kind of my pet peeve with where design just gets in the way, style gets in the way of function in a room. Bathrooms are like workshops. We do so much in there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and especially in these commercial spaces which is where they tend to make a well-designed bathroom like the showpiece. Like you go to a fancy restaurant, and it's like the bathroom has a certain look that's just for that restaurant. And I was in one 2 weeks ago, and it had this huge, long trough sink, metal sink, and it had wall-mounted faucets. And apparently the single faucet handle was so confusing for people that it had a sign above it, like a sign they made. It wasn't like a piece of paper with written on it. Like they made a sign and stuck it on the mirror that explained how to turn the water off. And if you're having trouble turning off the water, see the front desk for assistance. Or get a faucet that everyone knows how to work. Why not that?
Yeah.
I mean, in both those cases, I would blame whoever chose those fixtures for those spaces.
Right.
I mean, I think it's fine if you want to put that kind of stuff in your house. You confuse your guests, no big deal. You're the one using it most of the time.
Or in your master bath.
But if you're doing it in a commercial space.
But even then, is it in your powder room downstairs where all your guests are going to come by and have to use it and figure it out, or is it in your master bedroom?
Yeah, but I mean, if it's guests, you can explain it to them when they go in, like, "Hey," or play a trick on them.
Yeah.
Well, that we can go to then decorative sinks next, because you mentioned the trough sink.
Yep.
And decorative sinks used unskillfully are a pet peeve. I think that a vessel style sink in the bathroom that you're using all the time to really wash your hands after you're working in the garden, or do all of your grooming things at, I think it's kind of a disaster. Or same thing with a trough where water splashes everywhere. Like save those for the powder room, or the guest bath that gets used only when you have guests or something. But you mentioned the trough sinks, and I do think that trough sinks are a dynamite way to get the double sink aspect, so two people can be at the vanity at once in a smaller space. They have the trough sinks that can have two faucets in them. Yeah. And that's really nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think my complaint with some of the trough sinks is the iteration of them then becomes like they either slope it back, and then they don't think about how the faucet's going to hit it, and you get soaked.
You get soaked.
Or the countertop will get soaked, or the mirror. I don't know if this is on your list, but where do you come down on vessel sinks?
The vessel sinks, I think, from a from a style perspective, there's a whole lot of beautiful vessel sinks out there, like the hand blown.
I guess for anybody who doesn't know what a vessel sink is, it's when the sink bowl is sitting on top of the counter.
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
like a big bowl.
You cut out the bottom of a bowl.
Yeah,
and there's some kind of hybrid ones. I have one in my bathroom that it's like a self-rimming kind of a sink, so it sticks up around the edges, maybe like 1.5 to 2 inches, and the rest of the bowl goes under the counter, but it does, like the rim of it sticks up 2 inches. So it's sort of between the two. I like it.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They can command a lot of attention, so I think they belong in a bathroom where some of the other materials surrounding them are sort of subdued. If you put it in, a vanity with a ton of wood grain, or a real like top with a lot of character, or in front of a loud tile backsplash, it can get real busy real fast.
They're often put in like a real minimalist style.
Yeah, and sometimes they really are the showpiece of the bathroom, like this glass thing that's just beautiful. The real tall ones are less functional.
Sure.
So that's just something to be.
It's really. How often
of.
have you gone into? This has been. I worked for a lot of renovation clients who had like real old houses, and some of them had the original, bathroom sinks, and it was the kind where the little faucet that comes out from the sink is maybe 1.5 inches from the back of the porcelain.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't even get your hands under it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the thought behind that was. I don't know enough about it. Like, the sink is a standard depth, but the faucet projects almost nothing into it. Like, why was there so much room? Like, what was the idea with it not coming out farther?
I don't know.
Have you experienced that though?
Yeah, the schoolhouse that I used to live in had a tiny little pedestal sink, and it was exactly like that. So yeah,
it's kind of gross. Like your hands have to like touch the sink in order to get them under the.
Yeah, and I was wondering, I had a plug for the thing, and I was wondering if back in the day people just plugged it and filled it up and then washed from the basin.
From the basin, yeah.
Maybe that was what it was. So they had more access to the basin with the faucet not being in the way.
Right.
You might be right.
Here's the thing. The very standard oval bowl bathroom sink that's made from like either vitreous china or cast iron is, you can get a really nice one for $100, and it's still a solid option for a bathroom sink. It still looks great in a nice vanity and a nice top. And if other things are really setting that style, and you have other things that you like, just let that be there and disappear. It's functional, it's affordable,
right,
and it's durable as hell.
And that's a really good, just overarching design thing to keep in mind is know where you want your emphasis to be. Not everything should be a focal point.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
too much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
So last two items. These are. Well, first one, windows and skylights.
Oh, yeah.
Just seeing more and more daylight in bathrooms, and who doesn't want to be in a bathroom that's bright and open? And so often they get pushed to the corner. They're small. They maybe have a window. It's not very big. Daylight. So
we've talked about the skylight over the shower on the podcast before as a way to get a little bit of additional headroom in a sloped ceiling
in
too.
A small bath, yeah,
that works
for sure.
so well, and you really feel like you're in an outdoor shower at that point because you're essentially looking out the skylight, but you have sky above you. Don't put a window in your shower though. Please.
Oh well, you're not going to like this story then. Or that part of the story.
It's one of the top pages on Fine Home Building is people coming from Google searching for how to weatherproof or how to waterproof a window in the shower.
Yeah, I say put them in, but figure out how to waterproof it.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Well, then what do you do then? And what's the point? Are you then just leaving a curtain up all the time, or are you going with a window that's like obscured glass so you get some light?
Well, it has to be. Yeah, it's going to have to be in a place where you have privacy. You can't do it.
It's a shower. Are you showering with your clothes on?
A yard, for example.
I see
a yard
what you're saying.
A place that outside the window is private.
Right.
Your yard's got to be private, or you got to be on the second floor and have some privacy or something like that.
Yeah, wasn't there a story we published where they had like a little L-shaped wall right outside the bathroom that.
Yeah, with a little garden in it.
It was like a little garden.
It was gorgeous.
So that you're getting light, but you're not seeing anything because you're just looking at a fence, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember what that project was?
I don't, but I remember seeing it for sure.
That was a cool idea.
Yeah, and then the last thing are sliding doors. So in terms of a trend, pocket doors aren't anything new, but the trend is the barn style doors.
Yep.
And I just think that that option is so great for bathrooms because they're so small. So if you can avoid having a door swinging into your bathroom, avoid it, and it makes it's going to make the flow into and out of the room so much smoother. And then I would say the same thing for showers. There's a trend in showers to have French doors on your shower, like glass French doors, and like that just seems it's beautiful. It seems like a terrible idea to me. To have two doors that you have to swing into the space to get into your shower.
How come nobody makes a sliding glass door that recesses into a wall, like a glass pocket door for a shower?
For a shower.
Does that exist?
I have not seen that.
We should
and
invent
lots of
that.
sliding doors.
We already have some things that we're inventing.
We
should
do.
invent that as well.
Add it to the holdings company.
The thing with the barn door versus the pocket door, we should just talk about this for a second, because I think people jump to the barn door because it's trendy.
Yes.
And who knows how long it'll be. How much time do we have before that's gone?
I don't know.
It's hard to guess, but
It's hard to guess.
you know it's coming. Same with vessel sinks.
I think like it's one of those things. Well, I don't know what you're going to say about it, but it's one of those things. Like you were just saying, a pocket door can look just like the rest of the doors in the house. It cannot draw attention to itself. Barn door is going to draw attention. It's going to be another design feature
For sure.
Yeah.
The other thing is that when it's open, I guess you can make it work so that maybe there's like a picture hanging behind it. So the door slides closed, and then there's still something there.
Something on the
but
wall.
Otherwise, it's wall space that you can't use for anything
else. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the list?
Yeah, and a couple of honorable mentions. Looking for bathrooms to put in this story, I've been seeing more and more master baths in particular, that are wide open to the bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It seems some people may not like that idea that, like, someone's lying in bed and the other person's, washing in the shower, but there's something that I really like about it. That's kind of an honorable mention for the podcast anyway. Soft closed toilet seats.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah. Forget about it.
There's no other option.
Yeah.
I'll accidentally drop the seat because that's all I have in my house. That was the first thing we put in pretty much when we moved in.
Yeah.
I need to replace my toilet.
It was a life changer for me.
Yeah, but now like every other toilet seat, I forget about it, and if I go to put it down, I just drop it.
Yeah.
It's just like,
And
smack.
then lastly, those hotel style curtain rods.
The
The ones that arch out. If you have to have a shower curtain,
They're pretty nice.
They really make
as long
the
as the
inside
shower
of the
curtain's
shower
long
nice.
enough that it actually hangs into the tub.
yes.
Otherwise, it gives me anxiety when I'm in there. I'm just focusing on like whether or not the shower curtain is under control. Like, oh, it's lifting.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a preview.
It's a good list.
Yeah.
Was that the whole article?
That's it. Don't buy that issue.
So that's going to be in the kitchen and bath issue. More to come on
Coming
that.
up
Brian's
soon.
going to circle back on that and tell us all about that issue when we get a little closer. Let's do some questions. Let me pull them up here. All right, Chuck writes, we built our small dream retirement house in Rhode Island a little more than 10 years ago, which seems to be just the right amount of time for some of the first maintenance issues to start cropping up. The first is a bit of rot on the fascia board of our flat-roofed back porch. Most of the water tends to run off the rubber roof near the outside corner, and I guess it must be running down the wide trim board there. The paint started to peel away, and after close inspection, I was surprised to find the framing below is very soft to the touch. Any advice on how to tackle that repair? So we don't have any photos of this, but so it's a flat roof over a porch, rubber roof, and those are typically set up so that they pitch away from the house. Sounds like there's no gutter, and somehow water is running down the trim or on the top of the roof line and causing rot. So I guess we know where the low spot is. We know where the water's all running off.
Yep.
Yeah, but it makes me suspicious of whether the water's really running down the fascia board and not getting behind it. If it was running down it and this fascia board's exposed, I think it would just be drying and it'd be fine, and the framing underneath would be fine. But my guess is that somehow it's getting behind that fascia board.
Right, because if it's at the point where you're not noticing it, like I can see maybe it's a little peely, and then you go up there to go, oh, I got to fix this paint, and then you go, wow, this is really soft. For it to be that soft
after 10 years,
I think it would show its damage on the surface if that's where it was taking its beating, and then it would work its way back. But to show up as, I'm trying to explain this, to be super soft and still have paint on it, it does sort of indicate that it's coming from the inside, right?
It sounds like it's there must be water getting trapped and not drying.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's
Because
not
I mean,
good.
we all know that when wood gets wet and dries, it doesn't rot.
Right.
It's when it gets wet and
Right.
stays soaked that
Yeah, if
it gets punky.
You can soak wood all day, and as long as it can dry out just as easily, you might get some cracking and checking and stuff, but it's not gonna rot.
Yeah.
You know. All right, so it sounds like we got some joist repair to do here. This sounds like kind of a mess.
If the framing's really soft, then it's not as easy as fixing the fascia board.
Right, it just basically becomes, I guess, temporarily shore up the porch, right? And I guess it sort of depends on if it's the beam or if it's the joists.
Yeah.
So if it's the beam, you're going to have to prop up those, not joists, I guess roof rafters it would be.
Yeah, the basic
rafters, and then replace the beam because you're not really going to be able to splice in. I guess if there's like one beam at each corner and it's going between the, sorry, I'm talking nonsense. Clearly I have not had enough coffee. If there's one post at each corner and the beam is spanning between those two, then it's only got 2 points of bearing. So you need to replace the whole beam at that point if one side is rotten. If there's 3 posts or more, I guess you theoretically, depending on how it's built, could cut back to the nearest post and replace that section.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Assuming you have a footing under everything. And so that's one way. If it's the rafters, I guess I might be inclined to see if I could just add some framing.
Like sisters and framing onto the sides of the...
I guess it depends. Like if it's, if it was like one rafter was rotten near the end, I might just put in another one next to it, get it all fastened off, and then cut out the rotten one, or just leave the rotten one even. I guess, soak it with bleach and get it all good and dead, make sure there's nothing growing in there.
I guess sort of depends on like the cornice detail. I mean, is this open? Is this covered by a soffit? I mean, what is what does it look like under there? That may partly dictate, exactly what method you use to fix that if you have to address a rafter issue.
You mean like if there's a beadboard ceiling on the porch, or if it?
Whatever's there. I mean, if the framing is visible from the outside or anywhere, then you're going to want to probably get it, whatever. Oh,
I see what you're saying.
Replace it, put it back in the same place,
right,
just because otherwise it's going to be obvious sistering something on there.
In my mind, it was covered up with trim, but so you're saying is if you can see the framing as the finish, then you need to replace the parts that are. But if you could see the framing as the finish, then he would have known that something was rotten.
You would
Sounds like
think,
it's closed
unless
up.
It's something that he's not looking at on a regular basis. I don't know.
This makes me, for whatever reason, makes me feel like it's closed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about if it was just the trim board? Would you be inclined to cut that back and splice in?
Yeah, I would cut back to a rafter somewhere and, just take that whole piece off back to where it's not rotten, and then you could just splice in.
And what do you guys see for that? I would probably use a multi-master, and so I like to doing those kind of splice repairs. Take a block of something, cut a 45-degree angle on one end, and then fasten that. Plumb it up and fasten it in place with some temporary screws or finish nails, and then use the 45-degree cut as a guide to make a perfect cut with the multi-tool.
For a scarf joint?
For a scarf joint.
Huh. Yeah.
If you wanted to do a splice joint.
Yeah.
Scarf joint. I guess you could also just cut straight back, put a new piece in.
Yeah, or you could just kind of pull it away from that rafter that you're going to sort of terminate or make that joint at. Pull it away and use a circ saw and run a 45, and you may get a straighter cut than you might with a...
So you could essentially measure, figure out exactly where it crosses the rafter. So, I mean, you'll see nail holes where it's fastened on probably. Scribe a perfectly plumbed line there, then peel it back. Like peel it away enough that you could get your saw onto the trim board.
Yeah, yep.
That's a good idea. Kind of changes the tool a bit. I guess it depends on what the built-up molding is,
Yeah, that's true. If you got
I would still use a guide board of some kind, though. Like whether it's some sort of a temporary fence to guide whatever tool. Because
you can just put your
speed square
up there, hold it.
And not enough
zip right
people
up
do that. I don't understand why. Like referencing a speed square on a piece of material and then using it to guide your saw is so easy to get a dead straight cut on anything.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and granted, I'm not doing any production framing, but I'll do it just when I'm cutting framing.
2x.
Just have it in,
For sure.
have it right in my bag and just whip it out. And it's so easy. And yeah.
Yeah, it's people that are interested in doing that who don't do it. The only limiting thing there is that some circular saws, the base plate of the circular saw has a big angled cutout so that the left side of the saw plate is not a continuous straight line from front to back. It like jogs in so that you don't get good bearing towards the end of the cut.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what saws have that. I mean, I feel like it's a Sidewinder thing because I don't think I have it on my worm drive. I've been doing some framing in my backyard, putting this little bump out addition thing in the back of my garage, and realizing how bad of a framer I am as usual. It's just like I'm getting rusty with some of this stuff. Like I don't do it all the time now, and I feel like I'm starting to lose some of it. It's getting depressing. But so I had my cord was cut on my worm drive saw, so I didn't want to change it for this project.
You got a thing for cutting cords, don't you?
Actually, this one actually wasn't cut. I realize as I'm saying it, I removed it to use it on something else. And I thought like, I'll just replace that later. It's a long story, but so I finally got around to replacing the cord after having used the Sidewinder circular saw for a while, and went back to the worm drive, and oh my God, so much better. What do you use, Matt? Are you a worm drive or circ saw?
Yeah, I've got
a Sidewinder.
Yeah, well, I've got both.
I've got both too.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it depends on what I'm using it for. The Milwaukee battery op saw I like a lot just because it's easy, it's convenient. I don't have to plug anything in, and I can just run and make a few easy cuts with it. But yeah, if I'm doing like PT, then I'm bringing out the Makita hypoid saw.
Oh yeah. And you use a worm drive too, or hypoid too, right?
I use both too. But yeah, if I'm doing a lot of stuff, I have the rigid.
I don't get
why
more people don't use it. It makes so much sense to me.
But if I'm certain things, like I still use my Sidewinder if I'm doing like cutting stair stringers or something like that. I don't know what it is.
I can't believe we haven't talked about that on the podcast.
I feel like I have a better view over it. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe what we need to do is
stop the cut.
We need a call to action for everyone to write in their viewpoints about worm drive versus Sidewinder. We'll collect a bunch of arguments and we'll circle back on this in the show, and we'll just dive in and argue about it, because that's like a old school carpenter's argument, West Coast, East Coast thing.
We should set up a hotline. Let people call in.
Are you going to staff it? Press 1 for worm drive. Anyway, so once you have that new piece spliced in, make sure you prime those joints when you slice in that new piece. But most importantly, none of this matters if you don't figure out why it's dripping in the first place. And if it is indeed a leak there, or if it's a low spot and stuff is pooling there and then leaking through.
Yeah, if they didn't lap some kind of drip edge out over the trim or something. Yeah.
And after 10 years, it could have been a little bit of a problem for a long time. Yeah. And you're just finally catching up to it. Or it could be that something is starting to fail. I think the rule of thumb, I might get this wrong. I think for an EPDM roof, they say that some pooling water is okay, but it needs to be not so much that it can't dry in 24 hours. I think that's the number. So if you see a little bit of standing water on an EPDM roof, it's not the end of the world, as long as it's not so much that it can't dry in a day. So don't freak out if you see a little bit up there, but freak out if you do see it for too long. Okay. Chuck had a second question about some black gunk dripping from between the cedar shingles under their kitchen window. It has the look of melted tar. Any idea what could be causing that and how to clean it? This is a cheat for me because I've seen this before. So you guys might.
I got nothing. This was a mystery to me.
Yeah, I knew immediately because I've seen it. But
it's at a window.
Yeah.
I was going to guess that it had to do something with the cedar shingles and the tar paper. Is it tar paper that's cedar shingles?
Yeah.
Break
tar
down?
paper over cedar shingles. No, they break down house wrap.
Oh, they break down house. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
What do you got,
It's going
Matt?
down the wrong road.
Yeah, I don't know. I was originally going down that rabbit hole too because I was thinking maybe it's something to do with the cedar, but then it's like, well, it's in a specific location. So that just made me think that, okay, it's around a window. Maybe there's a leak or something, escaping from outside. Something's not flashed right. I really had nothing, though, beyond maybe it's installation.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Is it butyl?
It's asphalt flashing tape.
Huh.
It's not butyl. It should be butyl. Or what I'm guessing is going on here is that the window flashing laps over the top of the course of shingles under the window. And the sun is hitting that, melting that tar, and it's dripping down from between the shingles. It's the same problem you have. You have to watch out for this on metal roofs, too. They have to use that high-temperature underlayment because it gets so hot under there that regular underlayment will melt and drip down at your eaves. So that's what you're experiencing. The fix for it, I mean, if the shingles are painted, I guess you could mechanically remove it, scrape it off in some way, sand it, get it looking decent, and then reprime and repaint. But if it's like stained shingles or dipped shingles, I think you're just gonna have to replace the shingles. I don't think you're getting tar off of something and having it look halfway decent like you didn't.
At that point, should you strip them back and take the trim off?
That's what I mean. Solve the problem.
Redo the flashing.
At least the bottom flashing.
Yeah.
Or cover that flashing with something else that sticks over it. I don't know.
It's crazy to me that it's getting that hot.
Well, it depends on the side of the house, though, right?
Yeah, I suppose
Yeah,
so.
the sun's beating on it, and
I wouldn't have thought wood shingles would heat up so much.
I mean, I guess it could be a metal framed window. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how super common it is. Maybe this is just like a perfect storm, but so yeah. But it is very common for roofs. So you might see that around your roof line, and that's the reason for that, is your roofer didn't use the right stuff. But they're usually pretty good with that stuff. Claire writes to us, hi guys, we've been watching a house go up across the street and sneaking in there to look around at the floor plan and all after the workers go home for the day. I used to love doing this. Every time there's a new house going up, sneak over there. Like even as a little kid, go around and play on the job sites.
Yeah, steal from the scrap pile and make tree forts. That's the best.
We also met the soon-to-be owners of the house, and in talking to them, we found out they're putting in a geothermal system for their heat. They excitedly talked to us about how it works, and it sounds pretty interesting and freaking expensive. Is that why I've never heard of it before? Some people are not willing to spend the money? Curious for your thoughts. This is a highly debated topic of geothermal, also known as ground source heat pumps, also known as comfort, I think. There's all sorts of names for it. Heat pump, I don't know, ground, whatever. What do you guys think of this? We've in the magazine we've written good things about it, bad things about it. So it's not. There's no. First of all, let's just set expectations. We're not going to tell you whether it's good or not. I don't think. I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you two sides of the argument, I guess.
Yeah. No, I like the idea. I don't know if I like how expensive a lot of it is. But I mean, I don't know. It seems like...
You want to walk us through the idea of it?
I think it's worth pointing out that before we debate, for anyone maybe who doesn't understand what it is and what the strong benefit might be. So it's basically a heating system. You could think of any other kind of heat pump that both can extract energy and dump energy. So, you think of a heat pump for your house that both heats and cools. At one time of year, it can extract energy to heat your house, and the other time it can dump energy to cool your house.
Right.
And this works the same way, just using ground temperature.
Instead of air.
Instead of air. So it's fluid running through coils, going into the ground, so that it's always coming to your house at this very stable 55 degrees or whatever it is.
Can I read to you? So a while back, we had a guy, a really, really, really excellent HVAC guy named Henry Gifford write to us. You might remember this, Brian.
I remember Henry,
An article called Heat Pump Schmeat Pump.
Yeah.
But he had just this incredible way of explaining it. So I just wanted to read a little summary of it. He said, dig a well in your yard to fill buckets of water. If you dig deep enough, eventually the water will be a consistent 55 degrees regardless of the time of year. So if you dig down deep enough, we're getting all the water's the same temperature, 55 degrees, let's call it roughly. Now, if you grab that bucket of water and put it in the refrigerator to cool it to 50 degrees, the heat you just removed from the water, that 5 degrees, will be released through the coils on the back of the refrigerator and into the air of your home. If that makes sense, now you just repeat that process enough, using enough buckets, enough water, and enough electricity to remove the heat, and you can cool all the water you need to heat your home.
Yes.
Right? You'll eventually get tired of carrying buckets, so you'll install a pump to move the water for you, and you just invented a geothermal heat pump.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah. That's pretty much all it is.
And so the efficiency is pretty extreme, right? I believe they have a coefficient of performance of like 5 or something ridiculous like that.
So that's the claimed, that is the argument, yeah. But then there are some naysayers who say that in reality that's taking the best
case scenario.
Best case scenario,
and that it's leaving out the pump.
It's really closer to 2 or 3.
Okay, but
which puts it right in the realm of a regular furnace then.
Is that right?
Well, I mean, a mini split, you're going to get around 2 probably, right? An air source heat pump.
All right.
I mean, it's hard to...
Possibly.
Well, if you're comparing manufacturer claims to manufacturer claims, then geothermal is going to be more efficient.
Okay.
Right.
I think from what I understand of it, maybe the technology, maybe somebody has some badass air source heat pump now that's way better, but that's the way I understood it.
So there's how it works and about what it's like. So now what do we think?
Well, the coefficient, by the way, that 3, the coefficient of performance, the COP, is what you see on all this heating and cooling equipment. That's the ratio of, what is it? The ratio of energy in to
heat out
to like
energy out.
And, you know, so like the higher the number, the better. But
so every unit of energy put into it, you're extracting, you're getting 3 or 4, whatever the coefficient of performance is out of it.
So if you're putting in 1 and getting out 5, geothermal looks pretty damn good.
Yes, if that's the case.
It's like giving somebody 20 cents and getting back $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like the advantage is, though, just to get to that versus like, I guess, an air version or whatever, is that...
Which is what a ductless mini split is. It's what your refrigerator is. It's what your window air conditioner is.
Yeah. Is that because that water's at a constant temperature and it's relatively close to what you want for an indoor air temperature, your delta T, your difference in temperature between the water and the indoor air temperature you want is what? You know, less than 20 degrees.
How cold do you keep your house?
Well, I mean, 55 to 75.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it'd be like probably less than 20 degree difference. And so that's the temperature difference you're trying to overcome with the heat pump.
Right.
Where if you're dealing with outdoor air temperature in the winter, you're dealing with much bigger temperature differences, you know, teens, zeros, depending on where you are.
It's 0 outside and you're trying to make it 70 inside.
Right.
You do the math.
Right. Exactly. And that's easy to do. That.
You know, it's 70 degrees inside and it's 55 degrees underground. That seems pretty appealing.
Right.
Except for the fact that you have to dig down or do some pretty massive either vertical drilling or horizontal excavation in order to lay all that tubing.
Right.
So we're talking about a massive difference in cost to get it done in many cases.
Yeah. Yep.
And that I think is the biggest takeaway that from what I understand of this topic is you can't really do an apples to apples comparison or say it's good or bad because for your site and your area of the country, it could be awesome. Yeah. And if it's planned out well and installed well, it could be awesome. It could also make no sense at all. It could be totally ill fit for your site, for your climate, for your needs, for your insulation level of your house, all that stuff. So it's, I think part of it is people need to shift out of this mindset of a universal solution.
And also out of the mindset, which I mean, and this is all we've done really so far, of when it comes to heating and cooling equipment and systems, comparing it to other heating and cooling equipment and systems, because you know it's going to come down to not choosing the geothermal versus the mini split. It's going to come down to spending the money on your house where it's most effective. So you could put all your money into expensive heating and cooling equipment and have a house that's, you know, bleeding energy through the walls and windows, or you can spend that money on your walls and windows and roof and, you know, start shrinking exponentially what you need for heating and cooling. So not just comparing the equipment, it's the bigger picture.
Yes, and also if you are going to compare apples to apples, understand that a heat pump, that coefficient of performance that we talk about, does not factor in the electricity. of running that pump, and the blower if you have a blower for moving air, and what is it, compressor or condenser? I can't remember which one it is. Compressor. So that all factors in, and unless you have solar panels where you're getting the electricity for free, then anybody who claims like, well, I love it because I'm not burning fossil fuels on site, and I'm not using oil, I'm not using it's like, well, yeah, but somebody else is probably, and you're just getting the electricity from them. Put solar panels on your house, and I feel a lot better about it. And we've gone to some installations. We've published houses that have this, and people say it's great and it works great. And
we're hearing a lot about it about, I don't know, 8 years ago maybe. So, and it seems that I seem to hear less about it now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's been a rise of the mini split and other options that have kind of
they couldn't be any farther in terms of extremes, right? Like the mini split is you hang this thing on your wall and put an outdoor unit out there. The other one is we drill holes 500 feet deep to find cool water, and it doesn't have to be. It could be
real shallow. I mean, 4 feet. 8 feet down,
right?
You don't have to go that deep. But yeah, I think it could be an advantage if you don't want to have anything like that on the outside of the house. Like, I mean, because if you have a conventional heat pump or a ductless mini split, you're going to have some machinery out there. And if you don't like the look of that or the look of the ductless mini split inside the house, then, this could be an option. If aesthetics are really important to you, then maybe this is a good option.
It's a dirt simple installation in a lot of cases too. It's just PEX tubing filled with water. That's it. Like the closed loop systems are just water in plastic tubing.
Yeah, and a lot of sites are requiring a lot of excavation, and so in those sites, adding that on might be one of the places where you say it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
It again, it all comes down to the site. Then, I mean, if there's a body of water nearby, you can lay coils of this looping plastic in the water, and that can be a really easy, efficient way to do it. There are others that I don't know if people still do the open systems. There are some that actually suck water like out of a well.
Yeah, and then you just pump it right back in to the aquifer.
Or I don't know how many people are still doing those, or if that's still a popular thing.
I don't know either.
I think people get the heebie-jeebies about the idea of pulling water out, running it through a machine, and then putting it back into their water again.
Yeah, because then it depends on where your well for your house is, but I mean, it's no different than running it through your PEX normally.
Right. Let's see. Anything else you guys want to hit on that topic?
No, I think
we didn't talk about the cost of them.
Yeah,
but from what I understand, it can be anywhere from, for let's say like a 2,500 square foot house. I think you're in probably around 35, 50 grand for that. Does that
maybe
sound?
Yeah, what I saw was maybe 30 to 40% more than a conventional system, and I don't know if that's accurate or not. But yeah, $20,000 to $25,000 for a regular 3-bedroom home or something like that. So that's kind of seems like a lot of money.
You can buy a lot of insulation for that money, and then buy a little tiny heating and cooling system, and one little mini PV panel to power it, and you're done.
Yep.
There's a monstrosity of a ugly house that went up near me. I posted a picture of it on my Instagram account the other day. Oh, it is freaking brutal. I'm gonna tell people we'll put it on the show notes page just because I thought of it right now. But let me pull it up so I can show you guys, and we'll make sure it shows up. But it is just like the epitome of hideous. The roof lines, they're just amazing. Hold on a second. Here I am, Mr. J. Fink. Real time, baby. Look at this thing. Look at that. It looks like a McMansion that they then tacked a huge garage onto with this lame-ass little... You got the windows going up following the stairway, which is always a favorite. All different sizes. You got the 2-story Palladian entrance.
A mansard roof on part of it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is...
And it's just like right on the corner of this intersection. Do you like it, Brian? You're not saying anything?
I just can't. I can't say anything.
You can't handle it?
I can't handle it.
How many different roof styles can we stick on one house?
Yeah, it's just...
It is a wall facing the road that has no architectural appeal. Like it's like all garage is all you see, really. Don't show Jeff. He might like it.
And it's really everything that's wrong with the way that.
Oh, Jeff has seen it. He probably. What did you like it, Jeff? Let me see if you liked it. What did you think of it, Jeff? Did you like it? Hideous. Even Jeff doesn't like it. All right, we'll put that picture up just for enjoying. If people can enjoy the ugliness that is modern building in America. Try not to barf all over your cell phones. So let's wrap it up. We got a couple of things to tell you guys about. In October 26th, Rob and I are going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, doing a little event at the Remodeling Show and Deck Expo. If you guys have never been to that show, you got to come down. It's pretty cool. Well, you look confused, Brian.
You're doing an event at the show?
We're doing an event.
What are you guys doing?
We are going to be doing an emerging professionals event.
Ah.
So we're going to be talking about, we're going to have a bunch of our brand ambassadors down there.
Sweet.
So we're going to be doing some Keep Craft Alive kind of stuff, and we're going to be doing, an afternoon of networking and kind of sharing stories about how to get your business started and how to run a successful business in the digital age and social media and that kind of stuff. And that's going to be October 26th. And if you've never been to Nashville, it's super cool. It's worth the trip. This show is worth the trip, too. It's a lot of great building stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. That's the Remodeling Show. So you can look for that. And also, I will be, this is episode 68. I will be out next week for the first time since starting. I will be missing an episode of this show for the first time. So episode 69 will be hosted by none other than Brian Pontolilo.
Welcome to the Fine Homebuilding Podcast.
So we are gonna see how this goes. Brian will be in charge of coming up with all the topics, figuring out who's going to be on the show.
Who's going to be on the show with me?
It's all up to you, buddy.
Wow.
You're going to be in the big boy chair here in the center.
Matt, you can be around?
Yeah, me and the mail guy.
You're in.
And so definitely stay tuned for that. I certainly will. So that's going to wrap us up. Questions for Brian? Send them in to Fine Home Building.
Send them in.
FHBpodcast@taunton.com or go to finehomebuilding.com/podcast. Thank you all for your support on iTunes and comments you're leaving for us on YouTube. They're great. And do us a favor and tell some friends that you think might be interested in the show, because we're trying to spread the word. Until next time, this is Justin for Matt and Brian saying happy building.